So many things can be solved quickly when 4 or 5 minds in different layers of the organization focus on it together. You can know who should deal with that issue. You have the authority there in the vice president to say, yeah, can you take care of that? Or can you guys work together and solve this and report back? And so there's no issue of, well, how do I highlight this issue? And how do I bring the resources together to solve this issue? It's the quarterback has decided at that moment, this group will tackle this thing in this way, and that issue gets put to bed.
This is Durable Value. Get investing and business insights from industry experts and successful entrepreneurs every week. Like and subscribe now.
So today we're talking a little bit about Monday mornings at Graceada Partners and what a Monday morning looks like and how we prepare our week.
Mondays are tough. I sort of feel like I get work brain all week, and then I go into the weekend, and it takes a couple days for me to get out of work brain. And then Monday morning, it's work. You come in, you're like, wait a minute, all right, what's the mission? Where am I? What is this place? But that's why I think it's important to talk about Monday mornings at our office, because we create structure around that, so people don't wander in and try to figure out what the mission is and where we're going and how we're going to collaborate.
And we start that with a framework that we've used pretty heavily in our organization, which is this book called Traction by Gino Wickman. Yeah. It's called the Entrepreneur Operating System. And the idea is that you create more structure and predictability around how you run as an organization. And one of those out products is this idea of a level 10 meeting.
So every Monday at 10 a.m., we have two sort of overarching departments, operations and finance. And they have a joint part, and then they break into their individual parts. And the VP of Finance leads finance, and the VP of Operations leads the operations part. But we start each week with an agenda. We start each week with a plan. Mm-hmm. And there's a set formula that you go through in that meeting. It brings issues to the table. And every single week, every Monday morning, there's cross-functional discussion about key issues, and then discussion within departments about the most important initiatives for that week and how they're going to collaborate to make those happen.
So maybe let's talk a little bit about why those meetings are so effective. So one of the things that I particularly appreciate about the meetings, although it's a little bit of a downer, is the section called Issues.
Yeah.
We have a section dedicated every Monday morning to bringing up and talking about issues. And we try to start that, or those leading the meeting, try to start that with a blank slate. So the idea is, what's an issue that you see right now? Rather than diving into issues that have been discussed before, those get addressed as well. But you start with a blank slate so that people are provoked to bring up things that are challenges, things that need better coordination, better discussion. And that part of the meeting always ends up being a really edifying, because at the end of the day, we come away with a plan, we come away with steps that need to be taken to improve upon our operations.
And productivity goes up. Yep. So many things can be solved quickly when 4 or 5 minds in different layers of the organization focus on it together. You can know who should deal with that issue. You have the authority there in the vice president to say, yeah, can you take care of that? Or can you guys work together and solve this and report back? And so there's no issue of, well, how do I highlight this issue? And how do I bring the resources together to solve this issue? It's the quarterback has decided at that moment, this group will tackle this thing in this way, and that issue gets put to bed. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I'd say another thing is just the cross-pollination that occurs.
Yeah.
So the way we have it structured, the operations team meets, and then the accounting team meets, and in between they have an overlap section where they're meeting together.
Right.
And what that allows is issues to be brought up and also discussions to occur that involve the entire team, so that people from different aspects of the business hear about other aspects of the business.
Yeah. We often talk about the idea of becoming better each week. Maybe an easy way to say this is becoming 1% better each week. The idea that in a year or two you get 100% better. But also this leans to Jim Collins' idea of the flywheel. Like with each skill, the first time you do it, it's like, that really hurt. And the next time it's like, okay. And the third, fourth, fifth, it starts to get fast. And increasingly it gets to, with almost every issue, it's, I've seen that one before, or we did that one before, or like, we solved that one before.
Yeah.
And how can we improve our processes around this? How can we improve our process manual around this? How can we improve our workflow around this? And this Monday morning meeting promotes getting those flywheels turning faster and faster and more easily.
Yeah, and I would say when we first started, which was now years ago, the issues part of the meeting was almost more crisis. It was crisis management. Like, we got this problem.
Oh, yeah.
We got this. What do we do? What do we do? And now as the organization matures and we have more process around what we do, it tends to be more focused on improving those processes versus reactive crisis mode. Although not to say that doesn't happen, but it's less.
But it's a process of discovery too.
Yeah.
In that when you, especially more early on, you'd solve one problem and you realize there's 5 problems below it you didn't even know about.
Yeah.
And as you keep digging and growing and finding those new problems and solving those new issues and then building the process around them, as they say, putting out the fire and then setting a fire extinguisher next to that fire. So next time it pops up, it gets put out quickly. As you do that more and more, you the severity and the magnitude of the issues starts to get very much lower and much more manageable.
Yeah. I think another thing that those meetings reinforce is the flatness of the organization, because everyone is in the room, everyone has an equal voice. There's not really any hierarchy in the meeting except that one person runs the meeting.
Right.
But other than that, it does offer an opportunity for everyone to provide their input. And there have been times where an analyst level person or a very entry level person brings up issues that need to be addressed and that haven't been talked about before. And it gives a forum for people to feel comfortable. I'd say another thing I appreciate about the meeting is that we start with an icebreaker, and that helps flatten the room. So an icebreaker is often a question, and it might be a question that is usually it's personal. Sometimes it's, where do you like to go on the weekends? And other times it's, what was one of the most challenging moments in your life?
Yeah.
And what that does is it lowers the walls, and it allows people to get to know each other on a more authentic level. And it starts the meeting with humility and with vulnerability.
Yeah.
That allows the rest of the meeting to flow even better.
Yeah. I often hear people talk about the gift of vulnerability, but when we encourage vulnerability within our organization and teach that vulnerability is a strength, it promotes that positive, caring, and humble trait throughout the organization and makes us more flexible and more, in a stronger position than if we were rigid and only putting out our marketed fronts, so to speak.
Yeah.
So today we have a lunch and learn. That's sort of an extension of the Monday morning meetings. And we've done a few of those now, maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
How do you think those have gone?
Yeah, I like the lunch and learns because there is a lot of institutional knowledge in our organization, and inevitably that gets spread to just those that are immediately influenced by that person's area of expertise. And a lot of times it's the rest of the organization isn't aware of that piece of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so we've used lunch and learns as an opportunity. It's a voluntary time. People can show up if they want to.
Yep.
There's various topics, and those topics are around areas of our business or areas of our strategy or what we're doing. And it allows everyone an opportunity to have a better understanding, I guess, of the big picture or the pieces that go into that big picture.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, today we're doing one called Where Have We Been and Where Are We Going? And part of that is, given the size of the organization now and the growth over the last year, there's a whole lot of people that don't even really know us. I mean, we're so used to having started this. It's like we know everyone really well and they know us, but increasingly it's interesting for them to not know the story of what got to here and then not to know what's in our brains. But the real trick that we're trying to inspire is to encourage them to write their story on this organization. And I think that's going to be our big takeaway at the end, is to have them think about how their story will make the group story much better. But I think it'll be a great organization or conversation and a great chance for us to connect with the whole team and
Yeah.
for them to connect with each other.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, those Monday mornings, starting the week right, is something that we will always do as long as this organization is in existence, because it helps set the tone for the rest of the week.
Yeah. Well, we just started this new thing, cross-functional job shadowing. Part of the inspiration there was, I think it's Chick-fil-A that has all of its all of its managers and corporate office work in the restaurants. And my wife worked for In-N-Out in HR for many years, and they were great at that too.
Yeah.
And, we have properties in different geographies, and we are going to have people out at different properties. And when you're at a property sitting with a property manager for the full day, number one, you get to know that person. Number two, there's like downtime, and you start to walk the property. Maybe you meet some residents or meet some tenants or sit in the lobby and get a sense of what this building is and what this neighborhood's like. And that collective knowledge comes back to headquarters and makes the place stronger. And now when they're in a Monday morning meeting and an issue comes up, someone can say, well, I was at that property 2 weeks ago, and here's what we're really missing it on that. Or, hey, have you met this person? Like, they're incredible. And those networks, those bonds, those little hooks strengthen the whole organization and allow the culture to move out, and also for us to see areas of opportunity and risks and bring those inside.
Thank you for listening to Durable Value, an investors podcast, where we demystify commercial real estate with safe, sound investment strategies to help you balance your portfolio. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to rate it on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more, visit GraceadaPartners.com, where you'll find more information, investors tools, case studies, and more. This podcast is hosted by Joe Muratori and Ryan Suela. It's produced, edited, and mixed by Melodic, with intro music by Ian Post. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.